welcome to an all new movie potluck. I am your host, Jen. Tonight we are going to talk about food, and more food. As they relate to, or as it relates to movies, as movies relate to food, I don't know. Whatever the case may be, we're going to talk about it. It's all going to be about food. There's so much good food in movies, and there are so many movies that are centered around food. Uh, Full disclosure, they are doing massive construction right outside my window. Hopefully, it's muffled enough that you all can't hear it, but if you do hear the occasional power drill or hammer, I'm not trying to annoy anybody. They literally are right outside my window. I am going to first, just so that we get this off the table, I'm going to say that in the past week, I have had some of the best food that I think I've had in my lifetime. Just all kinds of different and some things that I just made that I thought, we'll just try this and see if this recipe works because we were going to attach it to a movie. And some stuff just turned out so good. So the very first thing I'm going to do is introduce my panel. But as I introduce my panel, I'm going to ask each of you for your favorite food. You don't even have to attach it to a movie. Just tell me what your favorite food is, and then I can bring it up over and over again throughout the podcast and make fun of you. So Tori, tell us, welcome first of all, and tell us what your
Welcome.
favorite food is.
Well, my inner fat kid is talking when I say this. It's a bacon cheeseburger.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that one might be a little bit hard to make fun of since that's also actually one of my favorites too. So yeah, that might be. We will give an honorable mention, however, to our missing co-host Betty. And when she comes back, we will definitely have to ask her if she had any of that vegan haggis and was it good, or what is her favorite Scottish food, because that I can't wait to hear that. I will just interject that my favorite Scottish food has got to be, those little Scotty dogs that are like shortbreads. Yeah, those are
Yeah.
my. No, I'm pretty sure that's not actually even Scottish, but anyway. Okay, and next up is Josh. Josh, how are you today?
I'm alive.
That's really good, and partly you are alive because you eat food. So tell us your favorite food.
Strangely enough, it's also the thing that's going to kill me. A little darker than I
Stress?
expected.
Do you stress eat? Are you eating stress?
Constantly. Yes, it's a real issue.
Is it
What is it?
bacon? What is
Is it
it?
pizza? Is it?
Um,
I know it's not string beans because those won't kill you.
you know what? My favorite food is
The
without getting
questions
too
get harder
specific.
after this.
Without being too specific, I'll just say a very nice tender cut of steak.
Oh, okay. That hey, you know what? Although I feel like maybe eventually too much red meat is not good for you. Uh, I
Exactly.
can't. I mean, unless you're actually eating it like every single day,
I
is it
wish.
really gonna hurt you? Listen, um, I still remember. This is not movie related. It's TV related. But I still remember watching the Powerpuff Girls. And during one episode of the Powerpuff Girls, there was killer broccoli. So we clearly have issues with food, even in childhood, about things,
Hmm.
Yeah.
Brussels
Um,
sprouts, yuck.
exactly. And I was very anti Brussels sprout until about 5 years ago when I found somebody that actually made them correctly. And
Yeah,
the
they're really
person,
good if you steam them correctly.
well, this person baked them
Oh,
and
I did.
put
I bake them too, I guess. But what she put on hers?
She had a beautiful first there was like a little bit of a salt rub and then a amazing balsamic glaze. And threw those into the oven, and when they came out, they had this like nice crispy balsamic char to them, just a teeny bit. And then the salt inside, it was just absolutely delicious. Brussels sprouts are actually really good. I just
Yeah.
had no idea. Um Have either of you, Josh or Tori, you can either answer, have either of you ever watched a movie that made you want to try a food?
Yes.
Yes.
The movie
Yes?
that I picked tonight. Yes.
So, okay, so tell us about it, Tori.
Ratatouille. Like
And how
I didn't know anything about this rat in a tui. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That was a dork. Okay, so but no, for real, I didn't know that it was a poor French dish. Like it was eaten among the peasants, and
mm,
then Ratatouille made it all pretty and did his little take on it, and then France went wild.
indeed. And I will say that one of the things that I actually really love about the whole idea of Ratatouille is that first of all, he chose the dish that I think Gaston would have absolutely loved. Or no, not Gaston. Wrong Disney movie. Gustav would have absolutely loved because his whole mantra was everyone can cook.
Yes.
And Ratatouille is like the basic of the basic. So I absolutely loved that. And so what was your experience? Was it delicious?
It
What did you
was
think of it?
good. Yeah, it was good. I don't think it was as cute in presentation as in the cartoon, but I think it was just as yummy. I can see it being dumbed down. I might have had like intermediate
Mm,
ratatouille. Like it seemed a little robust in flavors, but maybe that's what the simplicity of ratatouille is.
I think you might be right. You might be onto something there.
Yeah.
Okay, Josh. So tell us about your movie. You don't have to tell us about your movie. Just tell us about a movie that you saw that changed the way you either thought about food or a dish and made you want to try it.
Well, I tell you what, it was not the movie that I picked for tonight. So
Okay.
it's one that I don't think gets a whole lot of love when it comes to this particular topic, and that movie is East Side Sushi,
East
Hmm.
Side
and
Sushi.
and it's about um, this woman. She wants to be a sushi chef, but she's from like L.A. She's like Latina, and they're like, you're not Japanese, you can't learn this, that kind of
Oh
stuff.
wow. Yeah.
So it's about her journey to become a sushi chef. And watching them make the sushi, I'd never tried sushi before, but watching them make it, I was like, okay, is there a non seafood option for this? Because I want to try that immediately. And
They
that's
Oh
when I
do,
wow.
found
don't they?
the New York roll
Yeah.
and
Yeah. My ex
absolutely fell in love.
yeah, my ex he got me into sushi actually. His brother worked at a Japanese restaurant and yada 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 could make sushi at home, yada yada yada. And it was really good. Like very much so.
Nice. So what your experience then was positive, right? You liked it. You did you
Oh,
try other
now it's
kinds?
I've only tried the New York roll because once again, I'm not a fan of stuff that comes out of the water.
Mm.
But the New York roll, at least the place I go, has the it's almost like bits of fried chicken inside of it.
Mm.
Well, just as a quick side note, I can tell you that living here in Hawaii, obviously sushi and sashimi are huge. Uh,
Hmm.
Sushi is and sushi. And people get really confused because sushi does not mean just uncooked fish, right?
Right.
For us, that's actually sashimi. And sashimi, you cure it using either wasabi sauce or kind of a heavy soy sauce.
I love wasabi.
And it's delicious. Absolutely. It's hot, but it's delicious. Um, spicy, not hot. I don't know what I'm saying. But anyway, you cure it and then you eat it, right? So really, really, really good. But sushi out here is made in so many different ways. We have just this amazing diversity of Asian influence in our cuisine. So we are exposed to so many different kinds of sushi that I actually really like watching movies exactly like that. So that's really interesting because I haven't seen that one, where they explore that kind of cuisine
A movie
because
Jen
there's
hasn't seen.
so much of it out here. Yeah, I haven't seen that. I'm super excited now. Um, I have one, and then okay, so I have one, and it turned out not to be a thing. I really thought it was. So when I was a kid, I saw the movie Rosemary's Baby.
No, of course.
And of course, right. I mean, I was watching horror movies before I was like not drinking bottles, I think.
So you're
Um
eating babies?
yeah, yeah, I mean, I would if I could. No. No. So they constantly gave Rosemary this drink, this shake called they didn't name it, but later they said that it had the tannis root in it. And I kept trying to figure out what was tannis. And I thought it was a real thing, and I chased it for years and years and years, asking people. Nobody really knew. Some people thought I was just saying it wrong, and maybe it was like some other kind of spice or whatever. Turns out, no, it's not really a thing. They made it up for Rosemary's Baby, and
They
yeah,
didn't want all the tennis fruit to go out of stock.
apparently that is something that they just made up, for the Roman Polanski movie, and it had nothing to do with anything in real life. But
Way to get into character, Rosemary.
and yes, and apparently it was supposed to be like some kind of not devilish, but like it had some kind of weird properties to it. Apparently it smells really bad too. So I don't know, could be anything really. I did, however, as an adult, recreate the Rosemary's Baby smoothie by making something out of anise spice. Um,
Hmm.
and then I just called it the Rosemary's Tannis Anise smoothie. And it's delicious, but yeah, there's no such thing. So we just have to pretend at the end. So everybody knows that I have a blog called Movies and Meals. And what I do on the blog is basically watch a movie and get inspired by whatever is going on in the movie and then make a dish according to whatever the movie is. And I mean, we do things like not that long ago, I guess a couple months ago, we wanted to have uh Monte Cristo sandwiches. And so we watched The Count of Monte Cristo and we made these Count of Monte Cristo sandwiches, and we put instead of toothpicks in them, we put these metal swords in them. So it, looked like authentic to the period and stuff. It was really fun. But that's usually the way that I approach food with movies. But the point of this show is to bring forward movies that actually deal with food and sort of act like the food is either the main like let's say a main theme, or that it really carries the movie through. So as an example, my Big Fat Greek Wedding, there's food everywhere at all times. I mean, we're in a restaurant. The way that they express love for each other is very often directly through food, and I sort of love that. That's one of my also big things. If you come over to my house, you definitely get served food. Like, that's the way that I say welcome, I care about you, all that kind of stuff. And what's interesting about that, although I don't have a movie for this, which I wish I really did, um, apparently in many parts of Northern Europe, hospitality and food are not bedfellows. So when you go to someone's house, they may say, well, here, sit on the couch for a couple minutes while we go and eat some dinner. And they don't invite you to dinner. Like, it's a whole thing. I didn't know that. Tell me that you guys knew that. Did you guys know
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Well, okay, so part of my mom's side of the family was Swiss, and they
Mm,
were they
that
were
was one of
very
the
much,
countries.
yeah, and they were very much like that. It's because of the food shortage during the winter up there.
Ah.
So they get they get very weird about sharing their food with other people.
It's such an alien idea to me that it almost feels wrong. And I say that carefully because obviously it's cultural and obviously there are reasons behind it like you just said. Um but when you grow up the way that I grew up especially, um it seems almost criminal not to ask someone if they want
it's not necessarily like what is it, a requirement,
mm,
and it's not. It is by bad taste, but you can still do it. You know what I mean? Like you can
yes.
still tell people no. Like, and it, sometimes you might just not have the money for it then or whatever like that. But like there's it's not a requirement. It's in bad taste not to in most cultures, but it's not a requirement.
But okay, and so I had to really think about this for a bit, and I went back and I watched a bunch of movies that are specifically either Swiss, Norwegian, Danish, Finland was a big one. Um, uh, Norway was another one. There's another one. Even England actually only was like tepid. Like, yes, they'll serve you tea, but probably they're not going to invite you to dinner unless it's like a dinner. Like, okay, the whole express purpose is you come to a dinner. But otherwise, if you're just like over and you're hanging out and you're just having a good, you're probably not going to get food. And that to me, again, that's just like so alien and so weird. Okay, but so I was watching a bunch of movies and I feel like it was very much validated because you really don't see a lot of the same exchange. Whereas if you watch an American movie, if you watch a movie from Greece, if you watch a movie from Italy, if you watch a movie from Spain, oh my God, Spain. Oh, the, the their culture is so centered around a family table or a table that it's hard to understate it. But here we have the same issue. If you watch a movie that takes place in the South, there are no less usually inside of a single movie than three different se- takes. I'm sorry, my brain is fried today. There are no less than three different scenes where a family is either together at the table or where somebody is sharing food with someone else. Okay, so here's my next question for you guys. Do you think that the movies that have people sharing food in them are better in terms of setting kind of our a cultural um a cultural what's a good word for this? Do you think that seeing that sets a better example for people than the countries that, let's say, don't do that and where food is not featured at all? Like, does it actually change how you feel about the food, or do you think that like that actually detracts from the actual movie content itself? What do you think, Josh? Give us your
This
opinion.
is a good
I think
question.
it's a absolute absolutely not an issue for
Really?
yeah, for quality of a film, unless
Hmm.
of course it's something outrageous. Or I mean let's face it, food is in abundance in cinema. Even the Avengers met up for shawarma, right?
That's so true. Yes, that's so true.
So it's just one of those things that is, and I understand, especially when it comes to, like you were saying, movies set in the South, how there is just not only just sharing a food but eating a food.
Yes.
Um, the first thing that came to mind is My Cousin Vinny.
Oh yeah.
What's
That's
a
a
grit?
yes.
And how it actually became an essential plot point in the movie. And I think
That's
that
right.
it just a little tangential note. I was having a conversation with my kids because we were watching My Cousin Vinny, and the first thing I said was, "This is the role that got Marissa Tomei an Oscar. This one, right
Mm.
here.
Mhm.
I don't get it, but it is excellent." It seems really weird, But the other thing I was talking to them about is, okay, you're hearing this conversation about grits. You've had grits all your life. You know, we've lived in Florida all their lives, so they know what grits are. So they're hearing these characters talk about grits, and then later on, I tell them, you remember earlier the scene. You know, this is called, set up, pay off. You set it up, it has to pay off. And that's exactly what they did. It became a lesson, a little lesson in storytelling for my cousin Vinny, because that script is immaculate.
It is. It is.
So
And but but let's turn this upside down then, Josh.
yeah.
Do you think that if we were to use the same idea, okay, with payoff being involved here,
Mm-hmm.
payoff and my cousin Vinny sounds really funny, that we could do, that we could exchange out something else for food? That is,
Exchange
would
out
it have
something else for
worked?
food.
So would it have worked if it was, let's say, a type of cigar, or I don't know, something else that was perhaps consumable but not consumable like food?
Hmm. There are other things that sometimes people do in movies. Sometimes, well, I guess
Well,
drinking counts as that.
y- right, right. But okay, here's my point. This is what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is that sometimes I think we underplay the importance of food in our cinema. And I'm talking about Western cinema, right? Because Eastern cinema, if you look at Korean dramas, the importance of food is usually around the cultural unit of the family, not necessarily the actual food or even the sharing of the food. It's to show you that the family unit is intact. And in the European West, we don't have a ton, although obviously we do have some in. Like I said, in Italy and Greece, it seems to be a little bit more prevalent. In Spain, it's huge, but if you're looking at the Northern European, yeah, no, not really. It just isn't a huge thing. You might share wine, you might share some cheese and crackers or something like that, but it's not. We don't get a whole lot of full-on meal representations. But in the U.S., our cinema, Hollywood cinema, is very, very interested in the way that we eat and what we eat and how we eat it, and again, and even making regional um interesting points about people from the north not knowing what the people from the south eat, people in California eating different things than the people in New Jersey, and that kind of stuff.
I just had some brain lightnings. You're making my brain work. I'm not entirely comfortable with it,
Oh, I'm
but
so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah, yes.
but
Enlighten us with this lightning.
you you kind of sparked this memory in me, multiple memories of watching specifically characters and people in films eat, right?
Hmm.
And suddenly it clicked on me that we, um, I'll say we as in the West,
Hmm.
absolutely use food to help convey, at the very least, emotion
Yes.
during a scene. Depending on what somebody's eating, who they're eating it with, uh, you know, where they're eating it. The idea that, I mean, look, I think a good example of this is in the first Home Alone movie.
Hmm.
The very opening of the movie, they get all the pizzas. Everybody kind of, you learn so much about someone just by the way they eat their pizza.
Yes.
Hmm.
And on the same note,
And who's paying for it?
Kevin's dad.
Of course.
Kevin's dad must have been a millionaire because that family was freaking huge.
Well, it was a different time. We don't
Yeah.
go in that. To find out that he was like, I don't know, a cashier at the local supermarket.
Oh, kind of like how Al Bundy can afford like a two-story house and a shoe salesman's.
Exactly, different
Gotcha.
time.
Yeah, that was like a different time. Yes.
But on the same note, you see somebody, and you don't even need a line of dialogue. You see somebody, say you see, and not to be sexist, but a young woman sitting alone in a dark room with a TV on, and her on the couch with a bowl, or not even a bowl, but a spoon inside of a carton of ice cream, right?
Yep.
You know exactly what's going on.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, who did you break up with? This is so sad.
Or she's
Mm-hmm.
on her period. There's two things.
But food, you're right. Food is the cue for a lot of emotion when it comes to movies.
Yes, it is. Food is also one of the predictors, as we were just sort of talking about. Thank you for that segue, Tori, of wealth. Because if you see the family at breakfast, which a breakfast is always so hilarious in Western films because there is orange juice, eggs, bacon, waffles, toast, grapefruit, something else. It's like a all
Never
you can eat
ending.
buffet at
Freshly
Denny's, right?
squeezed orange juice.
and and the teenager or whoever will breeze in and grab a piece of toast and breeze back out again. So who is all this food for? I mean, but that is quintessentially wealth gives you the opportunity to show, and that's one of those kind of cues. It also happens in dinner scenes when you have a massive amount of dinner on a kitchen or on a, I'm sorry, on a dining room table. Just the dining room table is big. But
Hmm.
you have a massive amount of food and you know that those people are not going to eat all of that food. Like it's an enormous amount, but it's a status symbol. It's a wealth symbol that we, the audience, get to pick up on and go, oh, this family has money. They have something. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead, Josh. Keep going.
No, that was pretty much it. I had
You're in an
the lightning,
epiphany.
the storm
Woo.
passed.
Yeah.
It also to me so I guess what I think I clarified in my own head what I was thinking. Does the absence of food make you feel anything less about people, cultures, environments than the abundance of food or the proper use of food? And for me, growing up with Western in the US, growing up with the movies that I saw, I can say that yes, it does, because when I see movies that don't include any food in them, they feel a little bit more stark. They feel a little bit more, not barren exactly, but just a little bit less full. Like there isn't that cue for me to understand both culturally where are you coming from, and secondarily, um, what is your relationship with the people around you? Because so much of my relationship with people is, are we going out to dinner? Are you going to come to my house for dinner? What are we going to serve? How are we going to serve it? All of those things become very important cues in that relationship.
Well, for me, like I think that like if you're gonna say that, then like the absence of food, you're right, could mean that they may be starving their victims.
Mhm.
Like we don't know, but there also could be a whole transient thing of like maybe food is rude, you
Mm,
know, and
that's true.
maybe that the reason that people get offended and maybe they're offended in the north instead of, maybe they're like, hey, we don't want to eat around everybody, we're picky.
One of my favorite tropes in movies with food, and then I'm going to ask you guys for your favorite trope. One of my favorite tropes is the bread and the water for the prisoner. So prisoners only get bread and water. And I okay, the reason that I love that trope is because it's ridiculous and nobody, unless you're in probably even, I don't even know if you're in a Russian gulag if they give you just bread and water. But I mean, it's such hyperbole for, you're restricted, you only get this little tiny bit of something. But it says it so clearly, like, okay, you get the basic of the basic of the basic to survive, and that's it, because you're bad. That I love that because it's just such an easy conveyance of that kind of idea without really having to say anything at all. So, Tori, tell us what do you think is your favorite food trope in a movie?
um, maybe that peppermints are like anti-nausea medication because they
Ah,
say that, and it's not the case. At least in my personal opinion. I've been pregnant 3 times. I've tried a lot of stuff, and nothing like doesn't work. But no, for real though, like I think that there's a lot of cliches, like maybe we could take a trip down Willy Wonka's route and Veruca turned into
mm.
a giant blueberry because she was too gluttonous.
Yes, there that okay, so the trope of the person who is the fattest at the table or the biggest at the table. I hate the word fattest, but the person who's the biggest at the table, the most rotund person that's sitting there, is always the person who is not just not using proper table manners, but is always being the most gluttonous.
Are you
Oh
gonna eat
yeah.
that?
Um,
Yeah, right. Yes, eyeing somebody's plate, going, how about this? Um, that to
Are you
me
gonna eat
is
the fat?
always so just like, wow, do we really need to keep doing that, guys? Because but but the message is, listen, if you're gluttonous, this is what's going to happen to you. It's almost like a morality kind of a thing. Um yeah, so there's that. I'm going to mention Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom in 1 second, but Josh, what's your favorite?
Well, two of them come to mind. So if you'll hopefully allow me.
We'll indulge you on this one.
All right. The first one is the 30 minutes or it's free for pizza, right?
That's a great one.
Because that's the first thing that popped into my head was Michelangelo from the first Ninja Turtles movie saying, "Pizza dude's got 30 seconds."
Uh,
yeah.
So that's the first thing that came to my mind. Wise man says forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza. And
The
then
oh
mind of
god.
Josh.
I think the one that overtook the thought in my head, uh, done in so many ways, is naturally food fight. And the
you
next thing you
know,
know, food is flying everywhere. People have like
everywhere.
pies coming from nowhere. There were no pies before, but now there are pies.
And they're only made out of whipped cream. There is no flavor pie. It's just a whipped cream pie.
And Rodney Dangerfield said it best in the Simpsons take on Caddyshack, where they're like, "Where are these drinks coming from?" And he's like, "Who cares? It's a party."
Those are good impressions too.
So those things, I love to see in movies.
I also am very partial to the we in fact, I was just talking to somebody about this earlier. We dress up for dinner because I don't know, unless you are really living unless you are really living a lifestyle that is well beyond where I'm at, for sure. We don't dress for dinner. But I know tons of movies where that's a thing. Are you going to go get dressed for dinner? Like, wait
Yeah,
a minute.
like
I
in
am dressed.
yeah, like in Meet the Parents. Like they said that a couple of times in that movie.
Yes.
But
It's such a throwback to an both an older time, but also to a world that most of us don't live in. Now, I think that sometimes um that trope kind of gives us the opportunity to explore something more formal, about like something formal is about to happen, right? Formal conversation is about to happen, so everybody gets to cue in on it. um
yeah, see, me and my ex would actually dress up fancy to eat fancy grilled cheeses because they were fancy. But that's a whole other thing. Like I think that you're talking about.
that I think, see, I think you could totally make that a plot point. I really do. I think you could absolutely turn that into like a whole scene. Okay, so my other favorite trope in movies is when people serve you foreign food. It is so foreign. It is, and I'm looking at you, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I love you, but that banquet scene makes me a little bit uncomfortable. It is incredibly, uh, at the same time, slightly racist, sorry, but just a little bit, but also just out of left field with the eyeball soup and the
Well, I think they could have
snakes and the
fixed.
snakes. No, I
You
get it.
never
I
had
get
monkey
it. Don't
brains?
get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I am totally not dissing the whole
No,
premise of the banquet, but there does come a point where you're just like, okay, this is not an Adam Sandler movie.
no.
Um, can we sort of move past the I'm a 7-year-old kind of humor? Because I think that they started off on the right track. And if they had stayed on that track, it would have been fine. But that banquet scene actually really still makes me very uncomfortable, both for the reasons of the food, but also because, oh, see, here's these foreigners and they eat really gross food. Aren't you grossed out? This is how you know they're not like us. They don't eat our food. That
Yeah.
trope makes me absolutely horrified on countless movies where we can always tell that somebody is a foreigner because they eat food that we wouldn't eat. Not that we can't eat, not that we wouldn't find delicious, but that we would be repulsed by. That's how we know that these people are foreigners. I hate that. I don't know. That was just mine. I'm sorry, were you going to say something, Tori?
No, I was actually just that's a really good I wouldn't get angry about it, but that's a very good point that you made. Like I didn't think of it like that before. I guess the movies that I I guess the movies that I've picked like for there's three by the way that two are in very close contention, but I chose Ratatouille. But like these movies in my mind don't like ooze food like the way that you're talking about to convey to convey like emotion. They're more literal.
Well, the thing that I love about food in movies is that it's always, not always, I shouldn't say that. It's oftentimes a punctuation to a sentiment. It's a punctuation to a thing that is going to happen. And I'll tell you what one of my favorites is. One of my favorites in this genre is Aliens. Do you guys remember the movie
Oh
Aliens? With
yeah.
our marines that go in to try to find the aliens, and they're all big and bad, and they wake up from hypersleep and they're all sitting around this huge communal table, right? Well, there's two of them, but they're at these big tables. And Ripley has a fit when she finds out that Bishop is an AI, and she throws a metal plate thing across the table, and one of the Marines says, she didn't like the cornbread either. Because they had just been talking about the cornbread. Okay, the reason that I think that that is so effective is because it it conveys something that is, okay, they're making a point that she's mad and upset, they don't know why. They use the food as the most convenient thing. They're all sitting around this table, and the food becomes, to me, in this particular situation, it becomes kind of the metaphor for the whole trip altogether. It is everything that they need to survive is basically here, but how they react to it really changes everything. So that's one of my favorites. And not even coincidentally, also, um, the original Alien, when we first see the original Alien popping out of someone's chest, it's during their last meal before hypersleep.
Yeah.
So that also to me feels like, yeah, this is, and I mean, aliens don't use people for food quite the same way that I think we normally would imagine in kind of an alien movie. I'm going to get to that in a second. But I have another question for you guys. Um, what movies have you guys seen that you think that the use of food was like a central comedic uh I'm trying to think of a good way to say it. Not necessarily a full theme, but that it really was funny. I mean, Josh brought up My Cousin Vinny, and that really was funny.
Mhm.
I really, really loved that. Um, do you guys have others where you think that food was actually really funny? I mean,
Absolutely.
Mhm.
please tell me. What do you think?
Okay, so I would think that Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs hit on the comedic value because big food is always funny.
That's perfect. Yes.
Big food is funny.
Big
Yeah,
food
big.
is funny. That's true. Yes, giant meatballs running down your street could not be anything but funny. I mean, to me, it would actually be kind of terrifying, but in the
Yeah.
movie, yeah, it's actually really funny. What about
Uh,
you, Josh?
to me, one of the greatest comedic scenes in cinematic history involves food.
Oh, yes, and it's not
Yes.
Animal House and Food Fight.
No. No.
Okay, just checking.
It is a pot of beans and a campfire in Blazing Saddles.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's a good one.
That is a very good one. Yes.
If you haven't
Um,
seen it, by all means, watch
but
it.
Blazing Saddles, for all of its ridiculousness, and honestly, by today's standards, it definitely crosses the line in a lot of different places. But
It definitely does. Oh
oh
god.
god, that movie could not be made today. Um,
No.
I keep hearing that, but I strongly disagree.
okay, well, you
Well,
disagree, and
Sausage Party could get away with what it got away with.
Well, Blazing Saddles didn't do what Blazing Saddles did for just the shock value. It had a.
no, it was biting sarcasm. It was
Mhm.
absolutely biting sarcasm. Yes, I completely agree.
Unfortunately, some people to get the joke, and they were like, "Hey, he's saying what we're thinking."
Yeah, that also,
That
yes,
part.
yep. Um, okay, uh, on to our uh, probably, I think, hopefully the hardest question. Have you ever, or I shouldn't say have you ever, movies often convey this subtle sense of regionality, right? Um, if you're in California, sometimes you can tell that people are in California just by what they're eating. You can tell people are in New York by what they're eating. Have you ever seen a movie that specifically makes you feel like they are in one place just for the food? That isn't foreign, because obviously that is a huge kind of giveaway. But have you ever seen a movie that makes you instantly realize where they are because the food is the food? Like, immediately that they are definitely wherever they are. Um there was a movie a few years ago that was set in New Orleans, and I immediately knew that that's where they were because they were making this special kind of gumbo, and I thought it was just like, oh, that they can't be any place but Louisiana. That's the only place that I know of that they would make that kind of thing.
I would say like anything like bread wise, like the really long pieces of bread, like the people carry with like on their like bicycles or whatever. Like I wouldn't say a specific. Maybe like oh, Belle from Beauty and the Beast, when she's driving along, she's reading a book and she has the big French bread.
Oh, her baguette,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's a good one.
I knew instantly that there was a French it was a French story whenever I
Yeah,
was little.
I think foreign uh the idea of being in a foreign place is often presented to us with food first as being, this is the line that we know, okay, we're in a foreign place. um and not necessarily the way that I had said it before, which is, you know that you're a foreigner when you, and not even a good foreigner, if that's so ridiculous to say, but like, the movie is saying to us, oh yeah, these aren't the good guys, these are the bad guys, because look at what they eat, it's pretty gross, which is silly, but anyway, yes. But there's also
Villains
the
eat
other side.
well too.
But there's also the other side, which is like, okay, so here we are in well, okay, let's use Kung Fu Panda. Poe's noodle shop, right? His dad's noodle shop. That is very, very Asian. It is very Asian. And it fits perfectly in because you know exactly where you are. You are definitely in some kind of Southeast Asia. That noodle existence doesn't exist in other places unless you come to Hawaii, in which case, yeah, we try to cram all that stuff in. What about you, Josh?
I'm straining my brain here, trying to think of one. The closest I can think of is like if you see like a greasy spoon that's in very big city with, you know, tall buildings and narrow streets, that tells me you're in New York. The diners in any
Yep.
number of movies. Maybe you hear about somebody grabbing a slice of key lime pie. He's like, oh, maybe it's in Florida.
Oh yeah, that's true. That is actually a good one. I
Oh,
I
I do have one, as a matter of fact.
Okay, go.
51st dates. Spam.
Yeah.
When you order
Oh,
spam in a restaurant.
yeah, you got to be in Hawaii if you're ordering in a restaurant. It's true. I was just telling someone that during a hurricane, the very first things to go off the shelves in any hurricane prep are spam, toilet tissue, and usually some kind of uh, beans or something like that. So that's usually everything that goes off the shelves.
that's that's
But
very
spam is always the
nice.
first one.
It's
Yep,
the
that's the big
essentials.
one. Yep. There was a place out here that actually had spam under lock and key. You know how they lock up certain foods? Just thought that was like so ridiculously hilarious.
Oh my
God.
God.
Okay.
If only they really thought that way in the US. Like
Oh,
imagine
it's
how
so
like
funny.
how good how well the tides had turned and all of a sudden the spam gods are like, ha ha ha.
I, I
Finally they
I
see
have
us.
a million, and I do mean a million stories of food to tell from Hawaii. Sometime I should write a book about it because it's just,
Yeah.
and it's awesome. It's not negative. It's funny sometimes if you're thinking about it, because I'm originally from the East Coast. I'm from New York. So I sometimes even now look at traditions and rituals in Hawaii around food and think this is really funny. But it's culturally, this is so important. There are so many things that are culturally important about food here. And it does tend to make its way into movies, although you can always tell when a movie is trying hard to capture the flavor, if you will, of Hawaii. Because they will do things like they will put shave ice into a scene, And you know if you are eating shave ice, not a snow cone, a shave ice. You know that you are in Hawaii. You know that you're in Hawaii if you are eating spam or musubi, spam musubi, which is like super popular here. You know that you're in Hawaii when you see foods that specifically. Do you guys know what a loco moco is?
Hmm.
Okay, well, loco moco. You do? You know what that is?
Yeah, I've been to Hawaii like
I
five
don't.
times.
Oh, there you go. Okay,
But
so
please tell Josh what it is.
Tell
Okay,
me.
so a loco moco is it's a little bit like having a plate lunch for breakfast. Okay, it's a steak or a hamburger steak. It's lots of gravy, rice, tons of rice, and an egg or two on top. And the whole dish is just a I can't even begin to describe it with proper adjectives, but it swims. It's delicious, but it swims because there's all of these different layers and textures, and it's actually really good. It's also like the most high calorie way to start your day ever. I mean, if you start your day with a loco moco, you don't need to eat until like 8 o'clock at night. Um, so anyway, okay. All right, so I am going to ask you guys, Tori. I know that your movie is Ratatouille, and you
Well, the
did
other one is Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
perfect.
I had to pick that one because I made my kids watch it because I thought it was so cute whenever I was when they were babies. So yeah, I'm a fan. I thought
That's
the
an
whole movie
awesome
was
movie,
cute.
and also that studio that studio also did they did they did Claudia with a Chance of Meatballs, and didn't they also do Frankenweenie? Which
Yeah, yeah.
my kids always thought Frankenweenie was actually about like a hot dog. They always thought that, yeah.
No.
Frankenweenie
Until
was Disney, right?
No, it was DreamWorks.
yeah, I think it was DreamWorks, wasn't it?
Or no, it was Sony
Pretty
Pictures.
sure.
It was Sony Pictures.
Which one?
Cloudy was a Chance of Meatball. It was Sony Pictures.
That Tim Burton did Frankenweenie with them? With Disney?
Yeah. Well, they did it with Disney, but it's DreamWorks. It's DreamWorks under the Disney umbrella.
Crazy.
Yes.
Crazy, I say.
Yes. And that's why you can still find it on Disney Plus, because there you go. Um okay. Uh Josh, tell us what movie you chose. I'm going to come back to you, Tori, because I want to know what food you are choosing. But Josh, tell us what movie you chose for your movie tonight.
Well, it's going to be a bit unorthodox, but what about me isn't, right? And I went with Clerks.
Ah.
Okay, tell us why.
Well, I believe at the very end, Silent Bob sums it up best with talking about the food that we see earlier. Not every girl will bring a lasagna. Most of them will just cheat on you. And that's like the gist of the whole movie. Dante's worried about this other girl, Caitlin, and he's got a really awesome girl he's already in a relationship with. And that's his personal crisis throughout the movie. And she shows him that she loves him repeatedly by, you know, wanting the best for him as far as his future goes. And wanting him to make the most out of his life, not for her own personal reasons, but because she loves him and she wants what's best for him. And she caps it all off by making this beautiful lasagna and taking it to him at work because he's not even supposed to be there today.
I think that's absolutely perfect. Good
Oh.
job. Very good job.
Thank you.
My movie is Chocolat. It is
I
the
thought so. I was wondering when that was going to make an appearance. Like,
it was
like when
too
you brought it up.
perfect not to. just too perfect not to. Uh, there are themes of uh, both, I think, decadence and a willingness to fulfill your indulgent desires that are all swirling in the chocolate theme and or the chocolate the whole idea of the movie is basically, well, maybe I shouldn't give it away, but there's a lot of pieces in this movie that deal both with food, the unconventional pairing of different foods together, and what a unique combination that might make and how delicious it might be if you just try it, and how that is really the metaphor for all the pairs that end up getting together in that movie. They're unexpected and perhaps they don't quite mix when you first see them, but then they make something amazing. So I liked that movie both for the use of food and for the use of food as a metaphor throughout the entire movie, um, as its central theme. That uncon- unconventional pairing is a thing. I have to say that I notice when we post things to the blog, usually the things that get the most comments from people are either the stuff that I do for horror, which always makes people go, ew, that's so gross, or the things that are unconventional in their taste combinations. Um, like some people don't realize that adding layers of citrus to meats can make them taste bright. It gives it just a little bit of zing, or it can offset a bit of the spiciness. If you want something really spicy but then need to cut it slightly, orange juice or lemon juice or any kind of citrus will cut that a little bit to make it a little bit more palatable. Things like that. And people really question that a lot. I find that very interesting, and I feel like that's actually kind of good. To that end, I will say that I really enjoyed the movie, um, that was specifically made around Julia Childs. And I love the resurgence in I know Julia Childs can be a little bit problematic for some people, and I totally respect and honor that. I also feel like Julia Childs created an entire industry
Yeah,
almost
she
of
did. Absolutely.
people that are cooking in ways that they never thought that they could, a lot like uh um, Gustav from
Mm-hmm.
Ratatouille. Everyone can cook.
Yep.
Um, and she it's just it's the attitude toward food more than the actual application toward food. There are proper techniques, and once you learn proper techniques, it's actually really easy to replicate many things. Learn how to make a good roux sauce,
Nah, I was just
and
about to say that too. Like if
and
you
the
make a good.
foundation is like, you use roux for all kinds of things. If you learn how to make a homemade gravy, it
Mhm.
is so simple, and it's really just technique. It's nothing that you probably don't have in your pantry right now. It's just a little bit of technique. Those kinds of things make me really happy to see put forward in movies, because we don't get to see that a lot. For that same reason, I really loved Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Um, because, well, Willy Wonka, but also Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Because I feel like that sometimes that's how we view food, in particular the making of food. We view it as a kind of magic instead of we can do it. It's like, oh, we have to go behind these walls to get this really delicious, amazing thing, and actually behind the walls is nothing that we couldn't do ourselves. So I love that also as well. um, okay, so Tori, tell us, what food are you bringing to the movie Potluck, and why are you bringing it?
I'm bringing spaghetti and meatballs because I loved it's cloudy delicious meatballs, and that was the pinnacle of
Right?
the giant foods was the meatball, And so and like one of my favorite songs growing up was singing "On Top of Spaghetti," and
Okay, well,
that movie just reminded me of that song. So,
I will eat all the spaghetti, every last piece. That's, yes, one of my most favorite foods, so I will definitely be there for that. All right, Josh, give us your food. What are you bringing to the movie potluck?
Well, I don't want to double up on Italian because lasagna and spaghetti.
There is never enough pasta. Don't
never.
that not leave it. Don't even.
Fine, fine. I'll have the lasagna there, but I'm also going to include a homemade Twinkie cake
Mm.
to honor Jay stuffing his face and to help tie one on. It's going to be bottles of generic sports drink.
Oh God. Okay. I think we should designate you as the official grit maker as well. Just so that we can all taste grits and know what it is and say, okay, we did that.
I was a Waffle House cook for about 5 years. I know a thing or two about grits.
There you go. I feel like this would be perfect. I think we should do it. I I really struggled with this one because my movie is chocolat, and I felt like it would be super easy to just bring some bars of chocolate. Although, I don't know about you guys, but I have now become a chocolate snob. Um I cannot eat regular milk chocolate anymore and not feel like it is just an absolute letdown. I have started eating these chocolates from places around the world where where the chocolate is not made with the soured milk, where it's made with, it tastes like cocoa, like it really tastes
Mm.
like and it doesn't even need to be like the dark chocolate, but it just there's just such a difference in taste. Anyway, I thought it would be kind of cheap, a cheap trick of me to just bring in chocolate bars. So, um, we, I have not done this recipe in a really long time. I really should do it, and I should post it to the blog. We wanted to bring a chocolate fondue to
Mm.
our movie night and dip all kinds of things in it. I don't know if you've ever had sharp cheddar dipped in chocolate.
Mhm.
Um, and if your chocolate is not, if it doesn't have a lot of butterfat in it, grab heavy cream, and you can throw heavy cream into your fondue pot and it will bring the melting point for the, well, not the melting point for the chocolate, but it will add fat molecules to your chocolate so that it basically so that it melts better. And if you dip sharp cheddar cheese in chocolate, it's amazing, absolutely astounding. So
There's
that's
this
what I would bring.
there's this restaurant around these parts, and it's a fondue restaurant. So like,
Ooh.
yeah, and it's very fancy schmancy. Like the it's very rigorous hiring process, and you have to like know like 20 different things. Anyway, but it's very good to go to. But it's pricey, but that's where I found out about the cheddar and the chocolate.
Oh, it's so delicious. Really, really good. Also, just on the topic of fondue, that we miss out a lot because we use fondue usually that comes from a package. And it's just different than if you melt cheese on its own. It takes work
With
and a
wine,
lot of
yeah,
stirring.
yeah.
Yes. Yes, and you really can create something amazing. It takes a little bit of practice, it takes a little bit of it takes a lot of constant stirring, but it's absolutely worth the effort, and I swear your guests will love it. So, I am going to ask you guys one last quick question before we go. And that quick question is, if you could create a movie about food, any food, or feature it prominently as a theme, what would it be? And tell me a little bit about it. Go ahead, Tori.
Hot Carl's famous bacon cheeseburger sandwich. And the reason it's called Hot Carl's, yeah, I know you're going to ask me that. The reason it's going to be called Hot Carl's is because he was my dad was an asshole, okay? So but he was a funny asshole. And like he taught me how to make really good bacon cheeseburgers with like he put onion Lipton onion soup mix in it.
Mmm.
And not chopped up onions because that's too meatloafy, but like Lipton onion soup mix. And it's
Sweet.
so good. So I would want to tell a movie, and that would be a good catchy headliner, you know?
So, like the real Carl Jr. or something like
Yes,
that.
yes.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. Okay. I can see that. All right, Josh, give us your idea.
All right, check this out. We all know that multiverses are becoming a really popular thing these days.
Are
Yeah.
they ever? If you say string cheese in any way, I'm probably not going to be your friend anymore.
I kind of wish I did think of that, but no. So imagine a film where the entire premise is this company that is based within the center of the multiverse, where it's a factory and each door leads to a different universe. Each delivery truck goes to a different universe. And what is that company's name? Let's potato chips.
Wow.
I love
So, so your whole movie is actually just the setup for a really good pun.
it.
My movie would
Listen, I'm
be
here for this. I'm totally here
a
for this.
danger to the multiverse, where they have to get characters from wherever Let's is sold to help them save the multiverse.
Ah, the plot
So
thickens.
Troy and Abed from Community will show up and do their, Troy and Abed thing, and we'll get somebody from Modern Family to show up. Why not? But
Hey,
it's all of these stars from TV making a movie about saving the multiverse.
There we go. I love it.
that sounds good. That does sound good. I think I would actually like to go a little bit more subdued and maybe a little bit rom-commy. I think I would set up a script around a cooking school and have it be a number of small almost vignettes of people that come into the cooking school for all these different reasons, and they basically work out all of their life problems by cooking.
Hmm.
That might be slightly biopic. I don't know. I'll let you know as I come up with the script. I'll let you know. But yeah, that's what I do.
That sounds like a good movie.
It does, right? Yes. I think we could write this.
I mean, I think mine would be great, but yours actually sounds like something people would want to make.
Yeah.
I feel like I could pitch this and I could sell it in a way like, okay, so we've got the funny couple over here, but they're actually having issues. And what do they make? They make like the most complicated dish, and it brings them together. That kind of stuff.
Like there's a mom, right? And everyone thinks, oh, she's learning how to cook these things for her kids, and it turns out that her kids died.
Okay, well that's a little bit dark, and I might I might go with, instead of that, well, and okay, so maybe somebody died, and maybe the mom, instead of they being a little bit dark in that respect, maybe she's finding her own new path. I don't know. I'd have to brighten it up slightly.
Dead kids, dead kids.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, we could do like the surprise. We could make the sort of like surprise entrance of somebody that we think that knows how to cook really, really well. And actually, the only reason that they know how to cook at all is because they're going to cooking school. I feel like that
Okay,
could work.
I hold on. I have to interrupt
Yes.
because it just hit me
Uh oh.
that um the timing of that chant is probably really, really bad.
Oh
Yeah. It
no!
yes. It probably is. It probably is.
I
And
was
it
thinking about how
definitely.
I would put it in the show description, and then I thought, oh, probably shouldn't,
Yeah. No.
because that
Also
I
because this is
I
my movie,
apologize.
because this is my movie, this definitely isn't where I would go, right? I mean, I am absolutely 100% the most horror based person that I know. But in this particular arena, I don't want to do a a cooking movie about horror. Um I would definitely want to do something lighter, but serious enough that it was still, all the cooking metaphors could be there. We could even throw in all the tropes. It would be fun. It would just be fun.
I
Um,
I I feel like I need more time to say I am so sorry. Seriously, that the connections did not like start connecting until you know way too late, and I did not mean anything like it was a very, 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 very terrible attempt at humor that was rightfully, you know, not, uh, you know, picked up.
it,
And
it
and
it it was a joke and it went sideways. And don't worry. I mean, yes, we accept your apology, and I think that
I
everybody
hope the
else would
world at
too.
large does as well. I would never, especially after everything that's happened. Oh boy.
Of course, of course. Before I let you guys go, just now thinking about this, we were just talking about horror and cooking, right? I have a collection of cookbooks, because of course I do. And my collection of cookbooks includes a an alien themed cookbook. And
Mm.
and I'll have you know, I will have you know that they copied, no, I'm not sure who came first, but I absolutely positively came up with the alien egg idea.
Oh yeah.
And then I saw it in the cookbook and I was like, "Oh my god."
They stole
Um
my idea.
well, they put different stuff inside of their alien egg, so okay, fine. Um but I was going to what I was going to say is some of the foods in there are absolutely amazing, and I highly, highly recommend it. I really want to do a cookbook for the movie Candyman,
Mm.
because so much of that movie is both cultural and food related in ways that are, not always as apparent as we might think they are. And I feel like that would actually make a great cookbook. So if there's anybody that wants to collaborate with me on that, let me know, because I would love to do that. Okay, so next week, before I get too far away, next week is movies based on myth. So any myth doesn't have to be Greek and Roman myths, even though obviously we super love them. Could be Korean myths, could be Japanese myths, could be Hawaiian myths. Whatever you can come up with that is myth based. You don't want to myth this podcast. Okay, that was terrible. Okay, so with that, Tori, how can we get you on social media?
You can get me on every Friday night on my website, on my Facebook, on my website. My Facebook, Tori Rush is the Infectious Geek every Friday night at 9 p.m. I kind of changed up co-host to come see us this week because we're talking about why are villains so villainous. And
Ooh,
so, yeah,
good one.
I like it. And then next week we're going to be doing one about mental health, so that would be good too. And then you can also get me every Wednesday now when we do pilot season, while we take a movie pilot and we review it, and it's super fun. And then every Thursday night here at 8:30 with you.
Awesome, very awesome. And Josh, give us the full rundown. Tell us about the website. Lay it on us.
Oh, I think I'm pretty much canceled at this point.
The
Yeah,
the website is canceled.
no, I think the internet's. As soon as
I
they
think the
find
internet
out
is
what I was
canceled.
chanting, I think they're gonna kick me off the internet.
We're not going to kick you off the internet. We're just going to send you a whole bunch of hate mail. That's all.
Well, if you want to make it more directly hated towards me, it's at Skid Comic on Twitter. I'm willing to read all of your hate mail because honestly, it's well deserved at this point. Who thought me? I would, be the one. I'm always the careful one, and yet here I am.
It was a train wreck. I couldn't help but follow it. Like, I was like, I don't know what to do to save you, buddy. Like,
Of all the things that have been said on all the shows, it's
oh my
me that's going to
God.
get everybody kicked off the internet.
We're all banned. Lifetime ban.
Um, yeah, so at Skid Comic, thewadcast.com, wadcomedia.com, find out all of the latest and greatest on what's going on with Wadco Media. I swear to God,
Mhm.
I will never make a stupid joke like that again. All sorts of different stupid jokes, but that one, no.
No.
Okay. Well, we will definitely hold you to that. Also, I just have to say this again. Okay, to anybody that's actually wanting to produce this movie, that's not what it's about. I had to throw that out there because now I'm actually thinking about writing the script.
I'll make it. I got a camera.
Oh, yeah, all we need. That's all we need. Just a camera and some cooks. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey.
I got a camera and some boom mics and some labs and
I got some food.
lighting gear.
Ooh.
Okay, and you can catch me at moviesandmeals.com. Like I said, next week is our myth show. I really had a great time with both you, Josh, and Tori. Thank you so much for being a part of this, and we will see you next week.